I'm sure you know by now that CorelDRAW X4 is just one application in an entire suite of applications. So in this chapter, we need to dedicate some time to those other apps. We'll start in this lesson by exploring Corral Capture. Having the ability to capture a screen or a portion of a screen to be used in another application like CorelDRAW is very useful indeed. We'll check that out in this lesson before moving on to PowerTrace, allowing us to trace bitmaps and convert them into vector graphics so we can manipulate them further here in CorelDRAW. Then we move on to Corel Photo Paint for editing photos. We'll also look at the Cutout Lab, special effects that can be applied to bitmap images, and you can even import raw camera photos. In other words, if you've got a digital camera that allows you to take photos in the raw format, where there are no enhancements made whatsoever, you can bring those directly into Photo Paint to work on them from scratch. Then we'll look at the Corel Design Collection, as well as something that allows you to collaborate online. It's called Corel Concept Share. It's web-based, and you're going to love it. So let's start with this file that I've opened up here called ldccertificate1.cdr. You'll find that in the Lesson 16 folder of your exercise files if you've got it. And I've pressed F4 just to zoom in to my certificate here. Down in the bottom right corner it says Sponsored By, and we've got room for a logo here. The logo we're going to use is the lynda.com logo, and that means we need to go get it. So using Corel Capture, we can choose an area of our screen to capture and then just paste it here. I'll show you how easy that is. First, we need to launch the application. We can do it right from within CorelDRAW. Up here, we've got our application launcher drop down right here in the middle of our standard toolbar. And when I click this drop down, I see a series of applications to choose from. If you've got the Corel Office Suite installed, you'll see things like Quattro Pro, Presentations, WordPerfect, and Lightning. If you don't, those won't be there, but you'll see Corel Capture. There's a barcode wizard, there's Draw, and there's Photo Paint. We can launch all of these right from here. I'm going to go up to Corel Capture and give it a click. So this launches the application. It's not activated quite yet, but I do have a series of tabs and options to choose from before I do activate it. So first of all, you can see down below, I need to choose a type of capture. Will I be capturing an entire window? And you can see the option over here for window capture is not selected right now. If you're creating maybe a manual, for example, a computer manual, and you want to be able to capture menus, you could do that as well. There's a menu capture. Allows you to see menus that drop down and capture them. It's very difficult to do without selecting this radio button since they disappear as soon as you try to do something else. We also have area capture, should be the default. This allows us to click and drag over an area of the screen to be captured, and then the destination will be determined momentarily for that capture, and then of course you'll be able to use it as a separate file or just paste it if you've decided you're going to capture these things to the clipboard. So I'm going to leave mine as an area capture, but I'm going to change it from rectangular area to an elliptical area because the logo I'm about to capture I know is kind of elliptical in nature. So I'm going to give it a click. The other option is a freehand area. You can see I get a preview of what that might look like. I'm going to make it a circle or an ellipse when we start clicking and dragging. Let's move on to activation. Now, I told you it hasn't been activated yet. We've just opened up the options dialog. F7 is the hotkey that actually activates capture and then will allow us to start capturing areas of our screen. Notice that there is a delay, the default being 2 seconds. We can increase that or decrease it if you find it's taking too long. You have between 1 and 60 seconds before your crosshair appears and allows you to start capturing. You probably want to hide the icon while you're capturing unless you need to capture that as part of the image, but that's why it's checked off. It's a default. It will be hidden. Show the area in a zoom window. There is a little window that will pop open, allowing you to fine-tune your selection. And I like leaving that on. You'll see that momentarily. And then down below, we've also got our mouse, right? Our capture cursor. So if we wanted to, we could use the current cursor or select something else that should be captured. If I go to use custom cursor, I've got a drop down and some options to choose from. But with current cursor selected, whatever you're using, so if I'm in Draw and I'm using one of my tools, such as one of these shape tools, for example, that's what will be captured, the current cursor. All right, let's move on to the image. When we capture something, what do we create? Well, you can see by default the type of image will be an RGB color image using 24 bits. If I click the drop down, it could be a grayscale, paletted, 16 color, The higher the resolution, the higher the file size. And then we can adjust the resolution as well. So with RGB selected, I'm going to change my dots per inch to something higher. I'm going to go up to 300 just by clicking and dragging over what's there. You can also use the arrow buttons, of course, but I'm going to type in 300. This will increase the size of the file that I capture. So you have to take that into consideration, but if you need high quality, you might want to choose something like 300 dots per inch. Now when we resample something, in other words, if we resize it, scale it down, or specify a size, do we want to maintain the aspect ratio? Typically you do, otherwise you get those stretching effects. So I'm going to leave that checked, and then the scaling you can see is set to 100%. When I start to scale it down or up, whether it be the width or the height, they'll both change simultaneously. So let's say I'm capturing a small logo and I want it to be double the size when it's done. I might come in here and type in 200. And when I hit my tab key to move to the next field, it's already set to 200 because my aspect ratio is set. Okay, I'm going to change that back to 100, actual size, tab down, and look at that, it's set to 100. I could also specify a size if I wanted to, both the width and the height, and you can see the units of measure can be selected as well. Let's go on to our destination tab. So when we do capture a portion of the screen, where does it go? Well, it could go to a file if we wanted to. Then we would give it a name, we would choose a location and also a format. It could go to the clipboard currently selected. That's the Windows clipboard, so it sits there waiting for us to paste it in any application, not just Draw. It could go directly to the printer, what the font, something we talked about in an earlier lesson. And then we've also got OLE, Automated Application, Object Linking Embedding. So in this case, you'll see Photo Paint as the default. If you have other applications, you might be able to click this and choose from them. I don't. This is the only option for me. And lastly, we've got some options. These are little dialog boxes that show up in sounds that can be turned on and off. Notify us when the capture's done. That's turned on. Show ready to capture dialog box. So when we capture something and confirm it, we'll see a little dialog box asking us to confirm again. You can turn that off or leave it on, and I'll show you how to turn it off from the actual dialog itself. Show a warning when you're overwriting an existing file. If we're saving to a file and that file already exists with the same name and location, we will be warned. Also a warning for scrolling window captures. When we go past the border and the window starts to scroll on us, we will be warned about that. I don't like enabling sounds. It's currently deselected by default for me, but you can turn them on so when any of these warnings show up, you do hear something as well. So I think we're ready to actually capture. When we click the capture button, notice there's the ready to capture dialog box it's talking about. And it could be deselected from here or from down here if you don't like seeing this. Show this ready to capture dialog box is turned on. But by clicking continue, you've been warned you're about to activate that F7 key, which is our hotkey, and you will be ready now to start capturing. So it's actually running in the background now, waiting for us to capture. Well, like I said, I'm going to be getting the lynda.com logo for down here, so I need to switch over to my browser. I'm going to minimize Draw just for now. And look at that, my browser's open. I'm already at lynda.com, so you can use any part of any screen if you like. I'm going to go to this particular page and take this logo up here. I do have permission, by the way. You want to ask for permission whenever you're capturing graphics and portions of a screen that might be copyrighted. All right, I'm going to press F7, and I'm going to count to 2. After 2 seconds, I do see something happen here. My mouse pointer's turned into this crosshair. There's my little zoom window. As I go over the logo, you can see how it's zoomed in. I can move this window out of the way, maybe down here, because this is the area I want to capture. And thanks to the zoom, I can see how close I'm getting to the edges. So I'm actually going to be dragging an ellipse, right? So I need to make sure I've got enough of the area covered here. I'm going to start down here, click and drag. Well, you can see I'm off a little bit, but that's okay. Watch what happens when I let go. I now have the ability to adjust this. So I can click and drag these handles down and over a little bit until I get everything I need captured. You can see that's a little bit too much down there at the bottom. That's getting close. Drag that down ever so slightly. Once you've got exactly what you want, all you have to do is click inside. Now, if you don't like the capture, you want to start over, just click anywhere outside to start over. But when you do get the exact capture that you're looking for, make a few adjustments. all you have to do is click inside to accept the capture. Notice a little dialog box. The capture has been completed. That was a checkbox we saw turned on. I click OK. And now I can return to CorelDRAW. So I'm going to come down here and click on CorelDRAW X4, and I'm ready to paste this in here. Control V on the keyboard or my paste button. Remember, this went directly to our Windows clipboard, so when I hit paste, there it is. I'm going to move it up here where you can see it, and I'm going to zoom in with my zoom tool to show you that it is a bitmap, remember, so some things have happened here. It's a little bit jagged, quality's not all that great, and of course it is a rectangle, a square with some white in the background. I'm going to press F4 again on my keyboard to zoom out, and with my pick tool now, I'm going to move it down where it belongs and maybe size it a little bit here, make it bigger. And that could be the end of the story if I was satisfied. I'm going to click off the page here to see the end result. Well, I'm not too keen on that. It's not bad that I was able to capture it, but I might want to change it into a vector graphic and be able to manipulate it even further. Well, it just so happens in the next lesson we're going to be looking at some tracing options, another add-in program or application that you can use from here within CorelDRAW to trace bitmaps and convert them into vector graphics. We'll do that next.